Now the Spirit of the Lord is the one that speaks through me. Before my mother's womb, he ordained a new me, ransomed me, and placed his words upon my tongue. Few are chosen, rest assured that I am one, an ambassador for Christ, his beloved son. And by his word, let souls be one. So welcome everyone to this listening party. Sit back and let your souls be hearty. Celebrate with me the gift that God has imparted. And what better way to get this party started than to give him the stage, because he knows where your heart is. Holy Spirit, you are welcome in this place. Give me the boldness to look upon each face and speak every word that you've given me to say. With no fear I speak truth, I won't deviate, and I'm confident that all will go great. So let your presence saturate this place. I breathe in your spirit, I intake a river full of life, water in every dry place. As I flow to the notes that heaven navigates, let it bless every listener and free them today. Let the truth of your word draw souls to be saved. Let the comforter comfort hearts today, and let the light of your word show them the way. Every time I write, I tell his story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. He opens up to me and shows me his glory. He gives me the strength to keep on soaring, and when I open up my mouth, for him I'm roaring. And the Spirit of the Lord goes before me. To the captive set free, that's reassuring. Over the years he strengthened my inner core, and every day I wake up just seeking him more. Am I ready for this? In my spirit I'm sure I am in Christ, and my Father I adore. He redeemed me from destruction, I am his ambassador. As the world turns and open up the door, I step in with purpose to win souls for the Lord. Every time I arrive, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell a story as I bask in the truth of his word before me. Every time I write, I tell the story as I bask in the truth of his word before me.
Hey, welcome to Tom the Bomb Sports Talk, the fastest growing show in the world. It's Monday, November 3rd. Can you believe we're in November already? It's almost turkey time. And this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. If you don't think it's a great day, just try missing one. And we, LOVE, love sports and the Word of God on the Tom the Bomb Show. Yes, we are live. We're live on Facebook. Our contact number here is 301 655 9992. You can also catch all the replays immediately after the live show on YouTube at Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. You can also contact us by email at info@tomthebombsports.com. That's info@tomthebombsports.com. And of course, you can always visit our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. Hey, same thing. Hey, gang, we'd like to personally thank you guys for your prayers and your support. We've heard you loud and clear. And for everyone that have reached out wanting to contribute to the show and our ministry, me and Dr. Lauren thoroughly appreciate it. Your patronage, and you can keep you can continue to that we'll keep spreading the word of God. Our business cash app is hashtag $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. And we sincerely thank you, and may God bless you 100-fold return on the seed that you've sown into our ministry at the Tom the Bomb Show. As usual, we want to start off by thanking God for all the wonderful things that he's already done for us in 2025. Our theme for 2025 is still living in the grace realm. And our foundational scripture for 2025 is found in 2 Corinthians 9 and 8. I'm just loving it, just filling up on this. And this is the Passion Translation. And it says, yes, like a command. Yes, God is more than ready to overwhelm you with every form of grace so that you will have more than enough of everything, every moment, and in every way. He will make you overflow with abundance in every good thing that you do. Hey, gang, I'm pleased to announce our Community Hope Center at VCCI. We've started our grocery distribution program, and we're feeding 50 families in designated zip codes on the third Saturday of each month. at 11 a.m. Eastern. Our location is at 7-7 Metropolitan Court. That's in Gaithersburg, Maryland, 20878. And it's open to all the residents of the following zip codes: 20877, 20878, 20879, 20855, and 20882. And every or anyone that lives in Montgomery Village is also welcome as well. Everybody in Montgomery Village on and it's on a first come first served basis while the supplies last. Say that again, Tom the Bomb. While the supplies last, you can scan the QR code to register, or you can also register on site is available. On site registration is available, but all participants must complete a registration form, please. Our goal is to work up to 100 families soon, so be in agreement with us to get this goal done. We want to be a blessing to the community that we serve. Pastor Brew used to tell us that if you left the community, would the community miss your presence? And if your community did miss your presence, then you weren't supposed to be there in the first place. So we want to be a blessing to our community. Amen. All right. Hey, our trivia question today is who has won the World Series 6 times? That's not the trivia question. That is not the trivia question. The trivia question is who's going to win the World Series next year? That's the trivia question. And the answer to the trivia question is Will Smith. I'm giving you the answer here. Like, Will Smith, what are you talking about? It's Will Smith.
Then we have to go all the way to the end of the show
Wha-
because you always do it
No,
at the end
no,
of the
no,
show.
no. That's okay. We're doing it right up front. And the answer to the question is Will Smith. What do you mean? Who's Will Smith is going? Listen, Will Smith has won the last 6 World Series. Will Smith. Each team, the last 6 teams that have won the World Series, has had a player on their roster named Will Smith. So the Dodgers, Will Smith. Like I said, the last 6 world champions in Major League Baseball have had a player on their name Will Smith. So not that Will Smith. So when you say who's going to win the World Series next year, Will Smith. I think 7 for 7. 7 is the number of perfection. Is that not right, Dr. Lauren?
That's
That's,
correct.
that's right. So we're giving you the answer to the trivia question. Who's going to win the World Series next year? It's going to be Will Smith. Get jiggy with it. All righty, let's get back to well, let's kick the show off. Okay, let's start off. Okay, the Dodgers rally late to repeat as World Series title champions. It was an epic, captivating series on a dramatic late home runs behind a stunning game time dinger from unsung and unforeseen hero Miguel Rojas in the top of the ninth inning, and then a go-ahead blast from Will Get Jiggy with It Smith in the top of the 11th inning. And then and then the Madison Bumgarner, the Randy Johnson, the Kurt Schilling like performance that World Series MVP Yamamoto provided on 0 days rest. On 0 days rest, Uncle Zuber Dodgers broke every heart in Toronto on Saturday night with their comeback 5-4 victory in a Game 7 that merited its own month on the Major League Baseball calendar as the October Fall Classic rolled into November. Went that long. Amen. The Dodgers are Major League Baseball's first repeat champions since the Bronx Bombers pulled it off from 1998 to 2000. The climactic 4 hour and 7 minute extra inning affair it took to decide was a fitting end to a true fall classic. What was what was clear to me was these were definitely the 2 best teams in all of baseball. No doubt about that. The fact that it took 7 games, 2 of them going in extra endings, indicated how evenly matched these teams were. Uh, okay, Tom the Bomb. Tom the Bomb told you guys last year, Tom the Bomb told you guys that the Dodgers were going to repeat. And repeating at any level in major in sports, in anything. Repeating is unbelievably hard to do. But with that being said, and the Dodgers pulling it off, I honestly think that the Blue Jays were the better team. What? What you talking about, Willis? I honestly believe the Blue Jays were the better team. The Blue Jays clearly out hit the Dodgers throughout the whole series. Now, what shocked me was that the Blue Jays starting pitching outpitched the $1.3 billion starting rotation staff for the LA Dodgers. Their dream team rotation. With the exception of MVP Yamamoto, the Blue Jays starting pitchers were fantastic. Trey Yasovich, Trey Yasovich would have been the MVP if the Jays had won the series. And only once in my life have I seen a pitcher pitch as well as Kevin Gossman did and have nothing to show for it. Kevin Gossman went 0 for 2 in his two starts. Only John Smoltz of the Atlanta Braves pitched better in a World Series and lost when he lost to Jack Big Game Hunter of the Detroit Tigers. John Smoltz pitched nine scoreless innings in a World Series game and lost. Okay, that's the only guy I ever seen pitch that well and lose. Kevin Gossman was on that level. Now, what the Blue Jays are going to be kicking themselves for was all the men left on base. And of course, the lack of execution of their bullpen, uh, their closer. You got to close those games out. The base running mistakes, the crucial play where they thought the guy was safe at home, but he was out by literally inches. Uh, you know, it was bad base running because the runner never took a secondary lead on third base. When you're on third base, the rule of thumb is you're supposed to get your lead as big as whatever, however far the third baseman is away from third base, that's how big your lead is. And if he gets a secondary lead, instead of being out by inches, he's safe, and the Blue Jays win the World Series. So, they're going to be kicking themselves because, Tom the Bomb, felt like the Dodgers were going to win it, but the Blue Jays were the better team, and they should have won Game 7. Now, I picked the Dodgers over the Jays, not because I thought the Dodgers were better. I did think the Dodgers starters were better. So that shocked me that the Blue Jays starters outpitched them. But I knew that the Dodgers experience would kick in particular, the managing by Dave Roberts. Game 7 managing always plays a huge role in who wins and who loses. And the Blue Jays manager, John Schneider, he did a good job. Okay, he did a good job, but Doc outmanaged him. Okay, he outmanaged him, doing a great job going to Rojas in game 6 and 7 and benching Pajes, and then turning around and putting Pajes back in late in the game to make that defensive gem to save the series for the Dodgers. That was masterful, man. That was masterful. Listen, so often managers overmanage in situations like this, but Dave Roberts, he had the Midas touch. Okay. This game 7 was an instant classic for the Fall Classic. When you start to rank the World Series, it's definitely one of the greatest games of all times. I still like the Cincinnati Reds and the Boston Red Sox. I think it was 76 when Carlton Fisk was, hit the game, the time winning home run. He's waving it to be fair. I still think that's the best World Series I've ever seen. But this one was close. This one was close. Uh, I heard from so many people who really, really aren't into baseball, that they're not seam heads like me, that said that how great the game was, and they enjoyed it to the very end. Okay, which was saying something because, like I said, the game was 4 hours and 7 minutes. It was exciting from the first inning through the 11th inning. Dr. Lauren always says, "Man, watching baseball is like watching paint dry." But man, this was nail biting from the first inning to the 11th inning. Every game through the series had its own drama, from the 18 inning game 3 thriller to Trey Yesovich game 5 performance that was incredible for anyone, let alone a rookie. The double play that ended game 6, how could that be topped? And then we turn around to game seven, and it happened with Rojas late game tying and Will Smith's winning homers, with the tying run on third base and another double play to close out game seven. We had the benches clearing. Almost everything happened that you couldn't even imagine that happened. The Dodgers now have established their dominance as a dynasty, winning 3 World Series in the last 6 years. The Dodgers are, let's check this out. The Dodgers are out Yankeeing the Yankees. The Dodgers are literally buying pennants the way the Yankees do. Okay. Uh, pennant after pennant. And yes, they're even outspending the Yankees. Can you believe that? Understanding that when you have all of that high priced talent, that's when you need supreme leadership in managing those egos and keeping the team marching to one band, one sound. That's it, you really need a great manager when you have all that talent and them egos on one team. And Dave Roberts, like I said, has the Midas touch. He's done it. He's done it fantastic. So guess what? The Dodgers are the odds on favorite right now to win the 2026 World Series because I'm going to tell you why they're going to do it. They never rest on their laurels. Okay. And what's key is, and here's the what key free agents, they want to be in LA. Okay. Listen, Shohei Otani wanted to come to the Dodgers. As a matter of fact, I was looking at an article earlier today, and before Shohei signed with the Dodgers, his last trip was to the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Toronto Blue Jays, like everybody, was courting him. And the manager was saying, "Look, we gave you a hat, we gave you a jacket, or we want our hat and jacket back." Shohei said, "Oh, it's in my garage." So the attractive free agents, they want to be in LA. Listen, Tommy Edmonds escaped from the St. Louis Cardinals to win back-to-back World Series rings. He's got 2 rings in 2 years. That's never happening in St. Louis. Forget about it. Look, Yamamoto, what he did, let's talk about him for a second. Yamamoto, what he did was Bob Gibson like. Okay. Bob Gibson is the greatest World Series pitcher in the history of the World Series. Okay. And what Yamamoto did was Bob Gibson esque. Okay. Like going 3-0 with a 1.02 ERA. This guy commands 6 different pitches. And check this out, his 98 to 100 mile an hour fastball, that's probably his worst pitch. What? Yeah, yeah. His 100-mile-an-hour fastball is probably his worst pitch. I was looking at stuff earlier and they were saying they gave this guy $325 million before he ever threw a pitch in the major leagues. That's because he was worth every penny. Listen, that Blue Jay lineup is brutal. That Blue Jays lineup was like murderer's row, and he had them befuddled. Okay, but a 1.02 ERA. If you're not a real baseball fan, I can't tell you how good that is. A 1.02 ERA for 9 innings. Let all that sink in. And on top of that, he's just 27 years old and he's healthy now. Okay. You got the greatest player to ever play the game in Shohei Otani. I know I can see Gus frowning up right now. Look, dude, look. Before Shohei, I'm in agreement with you. I thought, well, I not thought, I know Willie Mays is the greatest player of all time, but Willie Mays never pitched. Okay. Babe Ruth pitched, but Babe Ruth didn't have a 100-mile-an-hour fastball like Shohei Otani. So they've got the greatest player ever in Shohei Otani in his prime. You got 3 MVPs batting 1, 2, 3 in the lineup. MVP. Come on, man. Shohei, Mookie, and Freddie Freeman. And literally, your whole starting rotation are legitimate Cy Young candidates. Their only weakness is the bullpen, and you can bet that they are going to empty the bank to get that bullpen up to par with that killer $1 billion starting rotation. This this will sting the Blue Jays for a long time. But the Blue Jays went from last place to the seventh game of the World Series. The Jays have nothing to be ashamed about. They have nothing to hold their head down. They've had a brilliant year and are and they're absolutely to be applauded and commended. It was a fantastic series. Was there anything that you wanted to say, Dr. Lauren? I know you actually enjoyed the series as well. Was there anything you wanted to say?
Just it was exciting baseball, and I never thought that would come out of my mouth.
As you right, this is the person who thinks that watching baseball is like watching paint dry, and she was captivated by well, great World Series. Truly, so often we get to a Super Bowl or a Game Seven, whether it's NBA basketball, Major League Baseball, or hockey, and the Game Seven just doesn't live up to the hype. Man, this so far exceeded the hype. It was fantastic. And not having a rooting interest in it, it's not like the Dodgers is my team. It's not like the Blue Jays is my team. When you have a rooting interest like that, you just want to see a good game. And boy, they did not disappoint. So it was a fantastic World Series. It was epic. Looking forward to it. Did I mention that I told you guys that Will Smith was going to win next year's World Series? Listen, the Dodgers are going to win it again. Oh, come on, Tom the Bomb. They can't win three in a row. You guys told me that they couldn't win two in a row. I just told you why they're going to win it in 2026 because they're going to go out and fix the weakness of the bullpen. They're going to go out and fix. Listen, the top relievers out there. Let's see. Do I want to go to St. Louis? Do I want to go here, or do I want to go to Los Angeles? Let me think about that for a second. Do I want to go to Canada or do I want to go to LA? Think about it for a second. The top free agent relievers that are on the market. Oh, and don't forget this part. They're going to pay us the most money in LA. Okay, three MVPs, Cy Young rotation. I need relief pitching. So I'm going to go out and get the best relief pitching. And who do you think those relief? Who would you go play for? Would you go to Canada or would you go to LA for more money? It's La La Land every day, baby. It's La La Land every day. So again, November 3rd, 2025, Tom the Bomb is telling you that the Los Angeles Dodgers are going to win the World Series next year. You watch it. I know baseball. Okay, let's take a break and then we'll be right back with five good country minutes with Felix and maybe Troy will join us. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Tom the Bomb.
Window Nation is on the Morgan's home turf to huddle up about replacing their drafty old windows.
This free estimate is showing how easy it is to tackle the problem.
We can get any of these windows custom made.
Yes, you can get the quality and style you really want.
And at a more affordable price than they ever imagined.
Now that they've sealed the deal, they'll be saving money year-round.
We're really confident with Window Nation.
Get your free estimate today and get 60% off all windows plus no interest or payments for 24 months at getwindownation.com.
Sheltered by the Sea of Cortez, Danzante Bay is a pure and peaceful oasis, an uncrowded retreat where your options are as vast as your views. If you're seeking a vacation that defines luxury and the true relaxation, look no further than Villa del Palmar at the islands of Loreto. A splendor of true Mexican hospitality effortlessly blends with rich materials and insatiable comforts to bring guests the ideal home away from home experience. With its quiet beaches, scenic vistas, rich history, and an astounding surrounding natural habitat, you'll feel as though you've been swept off to paradise. Not to be outdone, Reese Jones has crafted TPC Danzante Bay, a brilliant, multi-themed 18-hole golf course that runs over and through valleys, arroyos, dunes, and foothills. From every angle, striking images of the islands of Loreto and the surrounding mountain range take your breath away, while the challenging yet rewarding Baja Golf Course beckons you to return for more. It is an honor and my pleasure to welcome you to the world's most beautiful sunset and so much more.
And we're back. Hey, you guys see I got my Danzante base winter sweater, my golf sweater on? Yeah. They sent down about we get nice stuff like that. Yeah, that's cool. Listen, man, if you get a chance to go there, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. Listen, Dr. Lauren loves the spa. The golf is spectacular. Spectacular. And the service is premium. So if you guys get a chance to do that, do it. Do it. Book it, Daniel. Hey, gang, we got our main man, Felix Bassey, with us. Everybody say hello to Felix out there in Cyberland. Hi,
Hey.
Felix. You're my dream guy, Felix. Felix got fans on the Tom the Bomb show. Who do you think you are? Felix, let's give me your thought before we jump into the NFL. Give me your thoughts on this epic World Series we just experienced.
That was first off one of the greatest baseball series, and Game 7 was one of the greatest baseball games of all time. And that game really, it came down. What do I always say? Sometimes a good game comes down to the team that makes the fewest errors or the least critical errors. Now, let's talk about that Game 6 for just a second. I remember that runner tagging up after the ball went into the outfield, trying to steal third and getting tagged out. Goes back to the fundamentals. You only tag up if the ball's deep enough, right? If the ball's deep enough, that's the only time you tag out, and that's a gamble. You don't. That's a big if. And the ball was barely even a line drive. It barely went far into the outfield, and he tagged up. That effectively cost the Blue Jays that game. That was a double play, and it was fundamentals. This is something I would have known not to do.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sound a certain way, but this is something I would have done in Little League when I was 10. I mean, I like, as fast as I could run. Then another thing was with Game 7. Another thing, the Blue Jays had bases loaded situation, and I believe one out, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, one out
And
and couldn't get him home.
that gets blown. That happens again with the Dodgers. And let's not forget that play in the outfield. Again, it had everything you can ask for in a baseball series. The play in the outfield where the guy seemingly knocked out his teammate to get the ball, because if he just left it to his teammate, more likely than not, it bounces off the wall. The ball's in play. Blue Jays would have won that one. So,
Felix, what do you think about that guy? That guy was on the bench. He wasn't playing. And Dave Roberts
exactly.
injected him into the game specifically to make a defensive play. And that guy, there's a saying in baseball that when a player comes into the game, the ball finds you. It's like, I just got in the game, the ball is coming to you, because you're cold, you're coming off the bench, the ball is coming to you. And Dave Roberts made that move, got that guy in the center field, and because Kike Hernandez was not going to catch that ball. He was
Right.
not going to, and if he don't make that catch, game's over. Blue Jays win the World Series. So you're right, Felix. The Blue Jays made a lot of mistakes. They're going to be kicking themselves, man. Last thoughts on the series, Felix?
That's practically, again, it goes back to everything we say about sports. Sometimes a good game goes to the team that makes the least mistakes. Both teams. Now the Dodgers overall, we usually consider them to be the better team, but in that series, I can't really say one team was better than the other. Both teams played phenomenal baseball from performance to coaching, just everything. But like I said, I can't say this enough. The mistakes will cost you.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, Lee, let's get to the NFL like we like to do. We're going to start off with last week's Monday night game. And Felix, I am not trying to punish you and Nate Wood and Troy. I'm not doing it. But last Monday night game happened to be the Washington Commanders versus Mother Wiggs Kansas City Chiefs. And uh, I don't think anybody was really surprised that the Chiefs won 28-7. Tell me what your take off on just this Commanders game against Mother Wiggs Kansas City Chiefs.
So first off, now although I know this didn't have any bearing on the final results of the game, Dan Quinn going for it on fourth down was very problematic. And he did this multiple times. And we're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, a team you can't afford to make mistakes again. especially with the backup quarterback. So they were missing points on the board. That
Hmm.
first quarter, that first half could have gotten better. The Devo Samuel dropped pass landing into the hands of the defender.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was another one. So
They had
yeah,
the
those
momentum
three
going there too, man. I think if they
exactly.
punched that first drive in, I think it might be a different game. Felix, what's your thoughts on that?
Perhaps, and that's what I'm thinking. I say it had no bearing because Kansas City ended up scoring 28, but at the same time, it's momentum. You're
Yes,
right.
good
Football's a
point.
game of momentum,
Yep,
and if the
absolutely.
Commanders were able to build that on,
Hmm.
they could have potentially won the game. Especially considering that they were making the plays on defense. They
Hmm.
forced turnovers against Kansas City. Marshawn Lattimore with that interception, he had to tiptoe to keep it in bounds. Essentially, where it all went downhill, the Commanders' defense, they're calling again the same coverage that has not worked at any point this season. It worked once against New York because we had a blitz going on. And of course, this was New York before they really figured themselves out. Then it worked against the Raiders, and that's not saying too much. Let's be brutally honest here. I'm not trying to smear them. I was really hoping a lot for the Raiders this year. But the fact of the matter is they're sticking with something that does not work
Hmm.
and they're failing to adjust at all. So that's really the result you get.
So we'll save some of that juice for the next Commanders game. But I do want to ask you this: Marshawn Lattimore, used to be one of the top shutdown corners in the NFL, and Washington seems to pick up these guys at the end of their career when they're out of gas. Does he still feel like a shutdown corner? Because it seems like he's getting toasted every single week. If he's
He
not getting burned, he's getting holding calls. And granted, listen, and in his defense, in any defensive back's defense, if you don't get pressure on the quarterback, you can't cover these guys one on one for 5 seconds.
exactly.
You can't do it. So my question is Marshawn Lattimore, is he past his prime? Is he out of fuel in the tank?
First off, he's definitely not a shutdown corner anymore. I hate to say that.
Mhm,
And this is a guy, this is not the same Marshawn Lattimore who shut down Terry McLaurin in that game 4 years ago. He's one of two or three people tops that I've ever seen shut down Terry McLaurin. He is not the same person. And is he past his prime? Once again, I hate to say it because, again, football, it's a lot harder than they make it look.
mhm,
So I hate being that critical, but yeah, he is. And another thing I'd have to say about that is, well, although I'm saying it doesn't help that we tend to play loose zone coverage at times, there's sometimes we're getting beaten one on one. If
mhm,
the coach tells you to cover someone and he's not covered, that goes a little bit beyond the coach. I have to say that part.
mhm, mhm. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's get to the Thursday night game, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Miami Dolphins. The Ravens prevailed 28-6. What was your thoughts on this one?
Well, I'd say it was another game where the Ravens, they just played how we expect them to play. The Miami Dolphins, now, they had something going on for them in the early part of the game. I believe that they almost doubled the yardage total of the Ravens, and turnovers hurt them early. And yes, could the game have gone differently? I think the Ravens win regardless, but could have been a slightly better game if the Dolphins were able to complete those first half drives.
Mhm,
Maybe.
mhm.
And what I want to say about the Ravens, I'm not going to take anything away from them. Their defense played solid football.
For a change. For a
Dolphins,
change.
right, for a change. And I'm hoping, at least for their sake, that they can keep this going on because, again, a lot of the times when the Ravens do poorly on defense or other parts of the offense don't click, the media's going to punish Lamar Jackson for it. So what you know what I would say is that the Ravens they seem to have had a good thing going on, but another problem with the Ravens, really consistency. So will this be the same Baltimore Ravens team next week? We don't know. Miami, they're a team that can play well. You just have to catch them on a certain Sunday. And unfortunately, I think the Sunday they play the Commanders is going to be one of those games that the Dolphins actually shine. So, yes, in short, the Ravens are back to what brought them to the show, to the spotlight.
Mhm. I'm actually getting tired of hearing myself say this. But the Ravens have the exact same issues as the Buffalo Bills. If they don't give Derrick Henry the ball 20, 25 times a game, they're just not going to get. They're not going to be where they want to be. Same thing with Buffalo. Everybody's fallen in love with Allen, but man, I'm telling you, you got to. Cook has to be the focus of the Bills offense, and Derrick Henry has to be the focus. I know everybody loves Lamar Jackson and Allen, but man, football is always has been a simple game, and you have to be able to run the ball and control the clock and keep a guy like Patrick Mahomes on the bench. So when the Ravens get back to giving the 20, 25 times to Derrick Henry, that's when everything else is going to open up. Same thing with the Bills. They got to go through Cook. Let's get to our next game. Our next game was very, very, very entertaining. I had no idea. Gus's Chicago Bears versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bears prevailed 47-42. The Bengals have scored 38 and 42 points in consecutive games and have lost both of them. I think it's the first time that a team has scored over 30 points 2 weeks in a row without a win. What was your take on this? This game was ridiculous, man. Huh? You know what, man? In every adversarial competition, there must be a loser. And that's what the Bengals are, man. How do you lose this game after that great comeback, Felix?
And it goes back to what I said about the Bengals dating back to 2021. They would win games that season, even with Joe Burrow in his prime. And I would look at the opponent's score and I'd say, wait a second, they didn't. If the Bengals' offense were just slightly weaker, you take one thing out, they lose this game. And honestly speaking, the Bengals ever since then, a lot of people don't realize this because Joe Burrow's been an elite quarterback. Now he's injured. I mean, he's going to come back eventually. Best wish to him. But in those seasons in between then and now, they've been going 8-8, middle of the pack, and people seem to forget that this is a team that has potential to be elite, but their defense really keeps selling the game for them. So that's another thing I want to say. Credit to Joe Flacco. This is the best I've seen him perform since 2012.
470 yards,
Yeah.
passing the most passing yards by a player 40 years or older. He's thrown 11 touchdowns and 2 interceptions since he came to the Bengals from the Browns. He is getting it done, man. It's just crazy. It's like what happened in the it tells you kind of how bad of a organization that the Browns are. That Flacco can come over and look this good. But you know what? When you have Chase and T. Higgins to throw to, that's a whole lot better things to work with. He's got better ingredients to cook with in Cincinnati than he had in Cleveland. Bears win 47-42. I think Chicago's you and Troy had the Bears. I took the Bengals because I always pick against the Bears. But I think the Bears are doing this with smoke and mirrors. I really do, man. It's just something. I just don't think they're there yet. I think this new coach is doing a great job, and I just think they need a little bit more time in jail. But hey, you know what? If they get a few more wins, they're going to be relevant. So great game, 47-42. Let's move on to our next game. The Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. Now, we all took the Lions, and it's very easy to take the Lions, but you know this, Felix, but when you're talking about these interdivision rivals, you have to throw everything else out of the window. I think a lot of people are looking at this as an upset that the Vikings beat the Lions because everybody knows that the Lions is a better team than the Vikings. Well, because it's that interdivision rivalry, they know each other so well. These games are going to be close. The Vikings prevailed 27-24. J.J. McCarthy looked good in his return. What was your take on this one, Felix?
First off, I want to say J.J. McCarthy probably had the most impressive game of the season thus far. And another thing I wanted to say regarding the Vikings, they were clicking. And honestly speaking, I was looking at that Detroit Lions team. They seemed a little slower than usual. They still had a solid game on offense, take nothing from them. But honestly speaking, that was a game flat out. To your point, I give the full credit to Minnesota Vikings. They had it clicking from the start. The game kind of plateaued a bit, but they finished them off, and that was, I'd say, for JJ McCarthy, it's probably too early to tell. It's just we're just 9 games into his career, but he has a definite upside. I think Minnesota just builds around him, probably adds a little more to that running game. Definitely, I would say what they could do some things to their defense here and there, and Minnesota could be one of the better teams just based on what I saw against Detroit. But then again, to your point, this is a divisional matchup, so you can't really use this as a litmus test to judge how they play against the rest of the NFL.
Correct. Absolutely. I tell you, the last point I want to make here is the Lions and the Packers. They're like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like you don't know which one you're gonna get. Because one week the Lions look like just killers, the Packers look like killers, and then the next week they're Clark Kent instead of Superman. What's up with that?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Let's move on to our next game. We got the Carolina Panthers versus the Green Bay Packers, and this is the definition of Tom the Bomb saying, "Don't bet on NFL football." Don't do it, Benny. It's suicide. Come on, man. Listen, the Carolina Panthers players' mothers didn't pick the Panthers over the Packers. That's my son out there, but I'm taking the Packers. The Panthers prevail 16-13 in a really, really tough game. Listen, man, there's no rhyme or reason that the Packers are supposed to lose this game. It's more than a cliche. Any given Sunday, any of these teams can beat any of these teams. What was your take on the Panthers and the Packers, Felix?
Oh, wow. That there's a lot to unpack from that game. I'd say first off, the Packers. I will not. I would at least give them credit for what their defense can do, but overall, with the Packers, there's still a lot to be fleshed out on the other side of the ball. Jordan Love is a solid quarterback, and by the way, they're without Tucker Crap. He tore his ACL, and
Right,
he's going to
right.
be out
That's a
for the rest
tough
of the season.
loss. Tough loss, man.
Right. And he's one of their best receivers. He's one of their key targets. So I think without him, this would definitely be a harder road for them to go by. But overall, again, the Packers, good team, solid team, take nothing from them, but they still have a lot to flesh out. I've seen some things with their consistency, and some of their wins, I'll be honest, weren't that convincing. But I'd say losing to Carolina, definite red flag. And I'd say maybe it's a wake up call.
Mhm.
Maybe this causes them to play. Maybe this will cause them to iron out some bugs and come out as the Packers that we thought they were a month ago.
Everybody is in love with Jordan Love. I think it's Jordan Love, and
Right.
he's tremendously, tremendously talented, but he's still very experienced, and he's got that interception in him. He's got that Brett Favre thing where he could destroy you both ways. He can destroy the other team and he can destroy his own team. He's still got that in him, and he's got to get the kinks out because the Packers are only going to go as far as Jordan Love takes them, and he's got that interception late that's gonna hurt the team. Let's move on to our next game. We had the Chargers versus the Titans. The Chargers prevailed 27-20. Titans played hard in this game, man. They showed some heart, but the Chargers get the win. What was your take on this one, Felix?
Can you say that again?
I said, what was your take on the Chargers and the Titans? The Chargers 27, the Titans 20.
So I would say for this game, the Titans, I'd say they're definitely figuring out more of what they can do because they actually played a good game against a very good opponent in this one. So I I would say that okay, the Titans they're figuring themselves out more, so they'll have a better idea of what they can hone in on, what they can focus upon, what strengths they can focus upon, while at the same time they know where their areas of weakness are. They can build on that.
Hmm.
So 20 getting those 20 points, that's good. That's a major step up because there were times they couldn't even get out of the starting gate. Now for the Chargers, again, more of the same from them. 27 points on the board again. They play solid offense consistently week by week, and I don't think enough people talk about how good the Chargers really are.
Hmm.
So I think that was another example of that. So for the Chargers, I'd say it's more of the status quo. Tennessee Titans, I think it's a loss, but definitely a step in the right direction.
Felix, when we were talking baseball a little earlier, we were talking about fundamental things that just aren't being done that causes teams to lose. I mean, we're in week 9 now, and have you been shocked by how many extra points are being blocked and being missed? Let's move on to the next game. The Falcons and the Patriots. The Patriots prevailed 24-23, and the Falcons outplayed the Patriots in this game. And when they get back in the game, their kicker misses an extra point for them to lose by 1 point, 23-24. What's your take on this game? And what's your take on all of these extra points being blocked and missed? These are fundamentals, man. And they're coming. We've seen more block kicks up to week 9 than we saw all of last year combined. And they're coming up the middle. What's going on, Felix?
I would say it's skill. Now, here's the thing with coming up the middle. I can understand that's the safest place to position it because it's not like the video game where you put the analog stick and you have a precise spot. When you're kicking the ball, you have to be careful, not just with the direction, but how much force. Too much force. You know about this with playing baseball. Too much force to one way, it's going to be a foul. Or in football, it's you don't get 3 strikes. It's wide right or wide left. So I understand why they're kicking it up the middle, but really, I would say that this isn't on the kickers. Well, for the
I,
blocks.
I've
Now the
seen
missed
I've
kicks on
seen low kicks. I've seen low kicks. The guys always jump and some of it is low kick, some of it is bad blocking. You know,
I'll agree on that one. So the low kicks is definitely inexcusable. There's really no reason you should be doing low trajectory from within the extra point range. But I would say for the blocked kicks, they're training players better and better these days. So you see more oddball plays as such now. You're seeing plays such as people in the front 7 getting pick sixes. You're seeing things that we couldn't have fathomed as football fans. I'm not saying 40 or 30 years ago. I wouldn't have imagined this stuff watching in 2007. So it's just a game of evolving. So you see more quote unquote rare plays in the modern era. So I really think it's more so evolution of the game. But I do agree, no excuses for long kicks, especially extra pointers. Short kicks, I'm sorry. Low kicks, I
right,
mean.
right, right. All right, our next game was my San Francisco 49ers took on the G-Men from New York. The 49ers prevailed 34-24. Time the bomb was all over this one. Uh, man, the 49ers just having injury after injury after injury. And I'm just astonished that they're doing as well as they are with all of their starting quarterback. We're in week 9, and their starting quarterback has only played 2 games. They're all pro defensive end, gone for the season. They're all pro middle linebacker, gone for the season. All 4 of the receivers have been, 2 of them haven't come back. All 4 of the receivers have been on the disabled list. They're all pro tight end, missed 4 games, and they're still playoff bound right now. What's your take on this 49ers Giants game, 34-24 49ers?
First off, I want to say that your 49ers are a very well coached and well managed team. And I'm saying this particularly to the Commanders. If they're watching the show right now, I greatly appreciate it. Like, guys, look at what the 49ers are doing. Even if you get struck by injuries, it's load. I know basketball fans hate this word, it's a trigger word, but load management. You have to know how to spread out your roster properly. You have to know, and this goes back to what I said with signing Debo Samuels. I like him as a player, but I knew that our cap space would be so busted we'd lack depth around the roster. So the fact is you had that, and not to mention your coach coaches the teams to the players' strengths. If something doesn't work, you guys didn't have a perfect season so far, but if something didn't work, you make the adjustments, and that's how your team stays winning, even with injured players. And I look at the Commanders team. Yes, we're injured almost top to bottom. We had 3 season-ending injuries in one night yesterday. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but the fact of the matter is, you know what? We have a lot of starters out there too. We have a lot of talented players out there too. Where this is making more about the Commanders than the 49ers. I'm sorry. But my point is the 49ers just did what they had to do. And that's how they're able to stay afloat. And they beat a good New York Giants team who
A
put up a
good
good
New
fight
York
in this
Giant
one.
team. A good New York
Yes.
Giant team. And here's the thing, man. It's the NFL. Every single team is missing keeper. Look at the Giants missing Scatterboo. That guy was, they needed him. They needed Cam Scatterboo. He's gone for the season. Every team is experiencing these injuries. And here's the thing, nobody's feeling sorry for you because your players are injured. Nobody's feeling sorry for you because Terry McLaurin didn't play. Nobody's feeling sorry for you. Let's move on to our next game. We had the Broncos versus the Texans, and the Broncos prevailed 18-15. And the Texans, after being impressive and beating my 49ers, I don't want to say they laid an egg because I thought they should have won this game. The Broncos, again, they're starting to become the cardiac Broncos. Uh, uh, the Broncos win 18-15. What's your take on this one, Felix?
So, so I would say, so I would say for this game, Broncos, Texans, another example, because this game could have gone either way. Now, this is another example of the dangers of betting on sports because, the results of this game decided by a few minor minor actions. And we expected, really, let's be honest, we all expected the Broncos to win more decisively here. And not to mention, even if you want to bet on points or yards or what have you, that was a low scoring game. No one expected that game to be that low scoring, especially for the Broncos, if
Mhm.
not the Texans, right?
Texans
So
got great defense though, Felix, and that's why that
they
score was
do.
low. Uh-huh.
I will give them credit for that, but at the same time, that game was we a lot of people learned something about the Texans. The Texans being a little better than they give off,
Mhm.
and they're one of those teams that they're going to be considered a surprise team. Watch if they actually improve their roster next year. They start winning a bunch of games. They have one of the higher seeds in the conference. Watch everyone say, "Oh, I'm so surprised the Texans came up." When it was subtle signs like this. Same thing with the Colts. I've been telling people about the Colts since 2018.
Mhm.
One of the best defenses in football, especially the front seven. I said to people, "Hey, they have that. They got Jonathan Taylor." And it ringed in my head. Wait a second. If they got a quarterback, they'd be very dangerous right now.
Mhm.
Fast
Mhm.
forward now. So watch out for the Texans. I'll say that.
Mhm.
And best wishes to Stroud, who went out with an injury.
Right, and that's just it. They lost their quarterback in that game as well. Felix, you're leading us right to the next game, the Colts and the Steelers. Uh, the Steelers win 27-20, and I'm not shocked. Troy picked the Steelers. Matter of fact, he was the only one to pick the Steelers, and I'm not shocked that the Steelers won. I'm shocked at how they won, Felix. They shut this Colts off, and the Colts have the best offensive line. They've got an MVP candidate in the running back, Jonathan Taylor, and Danny Dimes has been playing all pro like. But I think we kind of saw the real Danny Dimes this past Sunday with this and the maligned Pittsburgh Steelers defense, the most expensive. The Steelers have spent $179 million on their defense this year, and their defense has been terrible. But boy, and I think after last week getting embarrassed by Green Bay, I think those guys started reading the press clip, and they showed up strong against the Colts. What was your take on this game, Steelers and Colts?
Steelers and Colts. Uh, the Steelers, they played again. The Colts, good football team. So are the Steelers. The Steelers, they they held that Colts team down just well enough, and it goes back to what I say is the strength of that Steelers team. Take nothing from Aaron Rodgers. He's still playing pretty good football at this point of his career. Might not be 2011, but he's getting the job done with those Steelers. And that Steelers offense already had talent before he even arrived. But holding the Colts, even if the Colts had about 20 odd points in that game, they kept them at bay. There was no point in which the game was out of control. They managed from start to finish. And it goes back to what I say about good coaching. Mike Tomlin, good management. The rosters always had strength. The coach always did what was good for the team, and that's why the Steelers, they've always, even if they weren't always a playoff team, they always remained competitive. And you're seeing more of that this season. So now that Steelers ironed out whatever bugs they had in the past few years, and they're not just good, not just competing, but
Mhm.
they're actually among the highest ranked teams in their conference right now.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, well, a lot of people haven't been totally sold on the Colts. Colts are a good football team, and a lot of people were saying, "Well, wait till they play Mother Wiggs, Kansas City Chiefs." Well,
Right.
don't overlook the Steelers. The Steelers took them to the woodshed. This game wasn't as close as the 2027 score. The Steelers dominated them. I was shocked by that. Our next game, shockingly, was a really, really good game. The Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And this game went overtime, and the Jaguars prevailed in overtime 30-29 because the Raiders decided to go for two instead of tying the game up 30-30. I really, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I was in disagreement with this. I was like, kick the extra point, tie it 30-30, and because I felt like that the Raiders would have done better in the overtime being extended than the Jaguars would. Because I'm just not sold on Trevor Lawrence, man. I'm just not sold on him. What was your take on this game, Jaguars and Raiders?
I would say for the Raiders, they played. the type of football I know that they can play. Now, of course, this season's been terrible for them. Obviously, they were one of the lowest ranked teams in football this season. But at the same time, I'm looking at what the Raiders, what they have on offense, what they have just around actually both sides of the ball, really. And the fact that they had Pete Carroll and the quarterback who had a history going back to Seattle a few years ago. So the fact that what I saw, yes, the Raiders they played to their fullest potential yesterday, and it wasn't. And that 2 point conversion, I will say this I will say this to kind of counter your point. I do understand, and generally speaking, I'm kind of that thought process too. You don't go for it unless you have to. You don't risk it unless you have to.
Mhm.
But they were thinking, hey, in this situation, if we go for it now and we get it, we can decide the game right here. If we take the extra point, what happens is it goes to overtime. But actually, I'm actually going to go back on that one because here's the thing: both teams are given a chance to score a touchdown with the new overtime rules.
Mhm.
So that's the only thing there. So in other words, there's no reason you should actually go for it now. If this were 2023, I'd have no criticism. But I just thought about it. I'm going to correct myself. I'll own up to my misspeech there. You're right. You're absolutely right. There was no reason they should have gone for it right there.
Yeah, kick that extra point and tie this game up and let the overtime extend. Let's move on to our next game. We had the New Orleans Saints versus the LA Rams. We all took the Rams. The Rams prevailed 34-10. That one actually played out like we thought it would. Again, a tough game. But the Rams are one of the better teams in the NFC, and they beat the teams they should do. That's what the good teams are going to do. They're going to win the games they're supposed to win. What was your take on the Rams and Saints?
The game happened exactly as we expected.
Mhm.
Good Rams team beat a struggling Saints team. The backups came in really early in that game. If only we understood to do the same thing in our game, but I'm getting ahead of myself again. Solid game from the Rams, one of the best teams in the NFL, and I think there's really not much to say about that game. It just happened as we expected.
Okay, let's move on to the next one then. Let's get to Mother Wigs versus the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Bills. Now, Tom the Bomb took the Chiefs in this game because I always take the Chiefs. Like, like I always pick against the Bears. I always take the Chiefs, okay? But here's the thing. I knew that the Bills were going to win this game. I did because the Bills are 5-0 against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the regular season. But in the postseason, they're 0 and 4, So Felix, think about this. I even think that during the regular season, because the Chiefs and the Bills are two of the best teams in the AFC. So when the NFL does their scheduling, they're always going to schedule these two teams every year, kind of like when Tom Brady was with New England and Peyton Manning was with the Colts. The New England was going to play the Colts every single year because that's the matchup. Everybody wanted to see Peyton against Brady. Well, everybody wants to see Patrick Mahomes against Allen. Uh, so here's the thing. I think Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs, I think they play vanilla during the regular season against the Buffalo. But you know what I mean when I say vanilla? You know,
Right.
they it's like I'm not going to show you my best stuff. I'm going to give you my vanilla offense, and I even think we're good enough to beat you with vanilla. But the Bills get all hyped up, like they all had coffee before the game or something, and they come out and they play this regular season game against Mother Wiggs Chiefs like it's the Super Bowl, and they win 28-21. Yay! I guarantee you the Chiefs are going to beat the Bills in the playoffs. I guarantee it. This is your Tom the Bomb lock for the playoffs. I guarantee you that Mother Wiggs Kansas City Chiefs are going to beat the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. And the only way that won't happen is if Buffalo decides to give the ball 25 to 30 times to Cook. That's the only chance they have of beating the Chiefs. What's your take on this game, Felix?
So I'd say the Bills, generally speaking, it's like I've been saying, it's a holistic approach with them, running the ball, passing the ball, solid defense, and that defense not just reawakening, but I wouldn't even say reawakening. They acquired new players in the offseason, and I saw them returning to form. And this Chiefs team, even though they're good, even though they're burgeoning once again, I get what you're saying. You expect the Chiefs to win in the playoffs. Honestly speaking, I'm not even sure about that. This Bills team, like I said, this is probably the best Bills team we've ever seen. And I'm not just using recency bias.
Mhm.
I normally come from a historical perspective because you're not just talking about a loaded offense. This is also a team with a solid defense, too.
Mhm.
And I think it's a toss up. I'm not going to throw away the Chiefs just like that. But I'd say this is really more on the Bills being so good than rather the Chiefs. Any sort of a deficiency from the Chiefs, from my view.
Mhm. I'm telling you, Felix, they are not going to beat Mother Wiggs Chiefs in the playoffs. They aren't going to do it. And the Bills aren't losing to the Chiefs in the playoffs because of Allen's performance, because he's been phenomenal in those games. But his supporting cast doesn't match up with Kansas City's supporting cast. And it's a team game. Football's a team game. One player, is not gonna win it at that level, man. It really does take a team effort. Look at last year with the Ravens losing to Buffalo. The guy drops the pass in the end zone. That's not Lamar Jackson's fault. You know, that supporting cast is important. Let's get to the game you want to talk about, or maybe you don't want to talk about.
I was looking
we,
forward to
we,
talking about it actually.
we got the Seahawks versus your Washington Commanders. The Seahawks opened up a can of kick butt, 38-14. It felt like that Seattle could have scored 70 points in this game. Felix, take us away. Let's start off with let's get an update on Jaden Daniels. Give us an update on Jaden Daniels real quick.
Okay, so first off, it's an injury to his non-throwing hand. I mean, still, I'm thinking beyond the function of football. It's a pretty nasty injury to have. Timetable of recovery 4 to 5 weeks. But what I'm thinking, not just the fact that our season will most likely be effectively over, barring an unlikely event by that point. Also, I'm not even sure how I feel about putting Russian Jane Daniels back onto the field again.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'll say this for his own sake, I'm glad that the injury recovery time isn't any longer than that. Then while we're talking about injuries, he had Marshawn Lattimore with an ACL injury out for the season. Best wishes to him. Luke McCaffrey breaking his collarbone in that game,
Mm.
also out for the season. And really, this has just been an inch. This has really been a roller coaster for the Commanders, just off of injuries alone.
So is Marshawn gone for the year?
Yes, he is.
You know what, Felix? I hate to say it, but I think this is going to be a blessing in disguise. Listen, man. I'm watching this game and I'm thinking there's somebody on the practice squad that'll play better than this. Uh, I'm absolutely appalled at the tackling that I'm seeing by the Washington Commanders. Nobody in their secondary wraps up. I'm so sick and tired of seeing defensive backs just ram into a guy with their shoulders or their back. You mean you're not going to knock a Saquon Barkley off his feet by not wrapping him up? You're not going to knock that tight end for the Seahawks down by ramming into him. Uh, Felix, did you see the bad tackling, or was it just me?
Not just the bad tackling, but I'm glad you brought that up. Look, I understand there's an appeal to making the massive hit. I get there's an urge to do it. There are times where, hey, it might be the most effective way. I can't even say that maybe rare occasions, but it goes back to this the fundamentals. Not everything has to be an ESPN highlight reel.
Mhm.
Not everything has to go on the highlight. Sometimes you just need to do the most effective thing. Maybe if you wrap him up, maybe he drags you for a couple of yards, but
Right.
that's going to slow him down just enough for your other teammates to come push him down.
So he doesn't
Maybe the
bounce
guy
off and run
feeling
for a
gets
touchdown.
tired. I'm sorry?
So he doesn't bounce off and run for a touchdown like they did.
Exactly. I mean, and it, like you say, in every sport, it comes down to the fundamentals, the basic things you're supposed to do, the things that yield the biggest result. Because guess what? You can go for the big play, but at the same time, there's a greater chance of you blowing the big play than there is you just going conservative. And hey, if it doesn't work right the first time, eventually your guy is going to go down. So
Mhm.
yes, I do agree. I don't like how NFL players are going for the big hit. Not only that, they're risking their health. Most injuries, you talk
Right,
about
right.
concussions,
Hmm.
they come from people trying they lay on hits and they're going in head first. People don't realize, but you talk about brain injuries. Those are overwhelmingly represented outside of linemen. They're very heavily represented in defensive players. Like people think that the most dangerous part of football is getting hit. It's actually delivering the hits and not being smart about it.
And
That's the
hitting the
thing.
ground. And hitting the ground. Yeah.
That too.
Yep, yep. Listen, we have to talk about Sam Darnold's flawless first half, 15 for 15, 240 yards, 4 TDs in the first half. I said it looked like they could have scored 70. What was your take? And Felix, I told you in the beginning of the year that this Seahawks team was a really, really good football team. Talk to us about Sam Darnold's flawless performance in the first half.
So I'll say to Sam Darnold, he's a talented quarterback. Jackson Smith in Jigba, he had 100+ yard game, and the running. Another part of their offense that did okay. I have to give credit to the running back core, even though they didn't. Even though it didn't, they didn't have any real explosive plays. They did the job. They did what they were supposed to do the times they were called up there. It was good offense all around. And part of the problem, I have to put a little bit of the onus on Washington, no matter how good Seattle was in this one. Washington gave Sam Darnold a pretty clean pocket that whole game. So you give the talented quarterback time in the pocket. He has talented receivers. Someone's going to be open. He's going to make plays. At that point, there's not much you can do to stop. And what I would say is this, right? I would say that if the Commanders just put on a blitz, I'm okay with them playing out of zone. If they can put pressure, force the quarterback to make a bad throw, quarterbacks aren't going to be as accurate when under blitz pressure. So, okay, the zone, it's going to work better. The ball has more hang time in these situations on average. The defensive backs are going to have more time to converge, or maybe you pressure them to throw in the bad pass. It's off kilter, it goes to defenseman. You go for that's something I'd be okay with. That's an adjustment. That's something I might not like zone coverage for this team, but that's an adjustment I'd be in favor of. But I'm not seeing any of that. It's really, once again, I hate to say it, I feel like our defense, for the most part, we probably call it the same 3 plays. I would believe you if you told me we called the same 3 plays the entire season. I would believe you.
Nat Wood doesn't like the play calling offensively or defensive. Felix, I got two quick last questions for you on this. Number one, um, geez, I forgot the question. Number one, uh, Washington acquired some talent over the offseason to make this team better. But the first question is this Washington team better than the last year's team? And I remember the second one. And the second question is, um, you know what? I forgot the question again. So go ahead and answer that first question. Is this year's team better than last year's team, even though this year they seem to have more talent?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm not answering from a records perspective because I know good teams can have far worse
Right?
records.
True. Like the Arizona Cardinals.
Right. Good teams can have bad records. I see that happen all the time. But I would say this in this case, no, I actually think this year's team is worse. And here's why. It seems controversial, but I think our running back core, excuse me, wide receiver core is worse than last year's. I get we signed Deebo Samuel. I know he's a star. I know we have 2 stars at the wide receiver core, but guess what? NFL wide receiver cores have more than just 2 people on them. It's a roster. It's between 4 and 5 people, depending on what team you're talking about. Last year, outside of McLaurin, you talk about Olamide Zacchaeus. We had other people on that roster. We
Noah
had
Brown.
De'Ami Brown.
Yeah.
Exactly. You had what you call depth on the roster. Now this year, I have to say a problem that I had. We signed Deebo. I like signing Deebo, but I thought, hey, we should sign a talented running back, but preferably one that's not so talented they'll demand X amount of money. You want enough cap space so, like, hey, you can assure you have a certain amount of depth going around. I saw this problem coming, and I knew. And the thing is, we still do have depth to a certain degree. Well, now because of injuries, not so much. But Luke McCaffrey was there. But I knew we were going to underutilize him. We underutilized him last year, even though he had the best separation rate in the NFL last year. So I would say, based on that alone, worst team than last year. I would say that the defensive backs pretty much the same. Front 7 mostly the same. Really, the main changes were okay. I'd say running back were pretty much the same. I'd say the only change was the receiver core, and again, that's yeah, we have to go depth and go around instead of just adding star power.
So
It
better
goes
or
back
worse? Better or worse? Are they better this year or are they better last year?
better last year,
Okay.
definitely better last year.
All right. And
That's in short.
the other question I wanted to man, I don't know what's going on. Just
Happens.
it does. I'm just blanking. Oh, now I remember. Okay. Um, last year you got a new owner, you got a new GM, you got a new head coach. Uh, they're rebuilding a terrible, terrible legacy that we've seen in Washington football. I think one of the worst things that happened is that Washington went to the NFC Championship game and were one game away from the Super Bowl. And I think all the fans' expectations were like, we've got a Super Bowl team. But this team, in reality, this team still had a lot of holes to fill. They overachieved last year, and to expect them to do this year what they did last year, I think is totally unrealistic for the fans. What's your thoughts on that, Felix?
Hmm. Now, I wouldn't go. I know what you're trying to say. In hindsight, it's a problem now because okay, we're at a point where our players are probably going to be in higher demand. They're probably going to be demanding more money. It's usually what happens when a team reaches a certain amount of degree of success. Sometimes, yeah, they can't suffer from it. But I would say not so much because when you have a chance to win, you go for it. I think the Commanders obviously did the right thing in going for trying to go for the win last year. But my only thing is you go for it, you come just short. At that point, you don't just start signing more stars to the roster. No, you got to keep the roster as intact as you can. Maybe fill out some areas of weakness, but again, it's got to be balanced out. So I know what you're saying. I do agree. Yes, teams can suffer from success, but it goes back to management and how the management deals with it. So if they don't deal with it right, if they make mistakes in how they adjust the rosters, like I strongly feel the Commanders did in some ways, things like this happen. Then injuries, of course, are not going to help. But is it okay if I add something very quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to put this all on the roster. I think that the roster has just enough firepower to have won, to actually have a completely different season. I actually want to put this on coaching. Now, in the Seahawks game, I noticed that the
Yes.
same routes in the Seahawks game, I noticed that the same routes were being called on offense
Mhm.
in
That's what
terms
Nate
of
Wood
passing.
keeps saying. The play calling is terrible.
Right. And
Mhm.
I get Bill Krosky married. He had some runs of his own, but okay, the running game didn't really work. And that happens sometimes. But I noticed that okay, we're calling the same routes and we didn't even try to go deep. We didn't even try to shot a shot out deep once.
Mhm.
And we're calling the same okay, three receiver sets back and forth. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? If our offensive line isn't that good, why not call some traditional two receiver formations? Those still exist in the NFL, to my knowledge.
Mhm.
Why not do that? Why not make some adjustments here and there? Defense, I've talked about that ad nauseum. But on offense, you have to try something new, something different. You don't have to run the ball out of pistol all the time because
Mhm.
guess what? We've said this before. You're putting your running back at a disadvantage because
Mhm.
he's starting from behind. It's not like
Right.
single back where the ball snapped, your runner gets momentum as you're
Right.
coming up, even though he's lined up. He's getting running momentum so
Right.
he can accelerate faster.
Mhm.
And another thing I want to point out, I was talking about this with this other guy watching the game yesterday. What happened to the I formation in the NFL?
There's some teams still using it. I think Pittsburgh still
Well,
uses it. The smart teams use it, man. Football hasn't changed in 100 years, man. Ground and pound, ground and pound. Listen, let's get to our picks for next week. We got to move on. Let's start off with the Monday night game tonight. We got the Arizona Cardinals versus the Alice Cowgirls. Uh, and Dallas is tough at home. We know that their offense is as good as any offense in the league. But listen, you mentioned earlier that there are good teams that don't have good records, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. That's a good football team in Arizona. They've lost to like 3 or 4 playoff teams, okay? Uh, and I know Dallas is tough at home, but I'm going with the Cardinals in this one. Who do you like, Felix?
Oh yeah, I'm going with the Cowboys.
Okay, all righty. All right, moving on. Let's get to next week. We have the Raiders versus the Broncos. That's going to be a good game because it's going to be a divisional game. But right now, the Broncos are the cardiac Broncos. They're pulling it out at the end. I'm going with the Broncos.
Broncos.
That's the Thursday night game, by the way. Our next game is the Falcons versus the Colts. This is going to be a tough game. It's 9:30. We're back overseas. I'm going with the Colts, though. Bounce back from their loss. Who do you like?
Colts.
All righty. Then we got the Giants versus the Bears. The Giants versus the Bears. Giants and Bears. Oh my. Who do you like, Felix? Let's let you go first on this one.
I'm actually going to go with the Bears because I know Jackson Dart's going to make this a very good game, but I think without Cam Scatabo, I think he was an X factor for them. Oh,
Mhm.
he was definitely an X factor for them. I'm definitely going with the Bears here.
I'm going to go against my tradition, and I'm actually going to take the Bears in this one as well. Watch the Giants win now, but Tom DeBomb's taking the Bears on this one. Then we got the Buffalo Bills versus the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins is one of those teams. It's so weird. It's another one of those interconference games. For some reason, they play the Bills as tough as anybody, but I'm still taking the Bills. Who do you like?
Who?
I'm taking the Bills over the Dolphins.
Definitely the Bills, of course.
Definitely did, but Miami plays them tough though. Then we got the Baltimore Ravens versus the much improved Minnesota Vikings. I think the Ravens are in a position where they're every single game from here on out is a playoff game. Lamar Jackson is back. I'm taking the Ravens. Who do you like?
That's a tough one, but I'm going with the Ravens.
Okay. Then we got the Cleveland Browns versus the New York Jets. And, the Browns still have the number one defense, but I'm going to take the Jets in this one. Who do you like?
Yeah, I think the Jets win too.
Okay, wow, can't believe two people went with the Jets. Then we got the New England Patriots versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And people are picking you. Well, right now the Patriots are in first place in the East, and everybody's in love with Drake May. I'm taking the Bucks. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Bucks and Baker Mayfield. Who do you like?
Same.
You taking the Bucks?
Buccaneers.
Okay.
Coming off a bye.
Coming off a bye. Then we got the Saints versus the Panthers. The Panthers were impressive, man. I like what I saw. The Panthers are running the ball and controlling the clock, and that's why they're in these games late. I like the Panthers in this one, Felix.
Panthers.
Okay. Then we got the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Texans. These are two teams that, you know, I'm going with the Texans. Uh, I don't want to say I don't like Trevor Lawrence because that's not true. I just don't believe in him. And, they win and lose because of him. He reminds me of Westbrook in basketball. He's going to win the game for you or he's going to lose the game for you. You just don't know which one he's going to do. So I'm taking the Texans in this one over the Jaguars. Who do you like?
I'm actually going with the Jaguars.
Okay. And then we got the Arizona Cardinals versus the Seattle Seahawks. Man, I'm so impressed with this Seattle team, man. They are looking scary, man. I like the Seahawks in this one.
Seahawks.
All righty, Felix. Now we got the LA Rams, one of the best teams in the NFL, going against my 49ers. And the 49ers have already beat the Rams once this year, to everybody's amazement. And it's just tough to beat those inner rivals twice. Uh, But this is one of the few times Tom the Bomb is going to go with his heart and not his head. Everything's saying, man, take the Rams. The 49ers aren't going to beat the Rams twice. But I'm going with my 49ers. I'm sticking with them. I'm going to be a homer on this one. Who do you like, Felix?
I completely understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to go with the Rams.
You
But
got
no
to take the
judgment here.
Rams. You got to take the Rams in this one, but I'm picking my 49ers.
You're a fan.
Then we got the Detroit Lions versus the Washington Commanders. I think coming off a loss, I think the Lions are going to destroy the Commanders. I think they're going to destroy them. I'm taking the Lions in this one. Who do you like?
Lions, and I already made that decision while Jay Daniels was still healthy. So yeah.
Yep. And then we got the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Chargers. I think this could be the best game of the week. and I'm really, really impressed with the Steelers. Uh, but I'm going to take the Chargers in this one, man.
Mm, I actually think the Steelers can take this one.
I do too, but I'm going with the Chargers. You like the Steelers?
Yep.
Okay, Felix take the Steelers. Tom the Bomb's taking the Chargers. And then the Monday night game is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Green Bay Packers. I'm going with the Eagles on this one, man.
Eagles, Packers. I'm actually going to go with the Packers.
Look, man, we're in week 9. This is week 9, right?
Right.
Felix, Super Bowl this year, Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
You think so?
I hate so. I am not liking this at all, man. But everything in me is telling me we're going to get a repeat with the Eagles and Mother Wiggs Kansas City Chiefs. Because
I mean,
hey, you got to beat the champs. You got to beat the champs. You know, Toronto didn't beat the champ. They had a chance and they didn't beat. You got to knock the champ out, and Toronto didn't knock them out. And you're going to have to knock the Eagles out, and you're going to have to knock out Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think anybody's going to knock them out. I know. Spoiler alert: week 9. I'm taking the Eagles and the Mother Wigs Chiefs Super Bowl right now.
I'll say this: if you don't like that, how do you think I feel? I'm a Commanders fan and watching a team in the division, the Eagles, do this back and forth. We're supposed to be stopping them because it's a team that plays them twice a year.
Yes. So I'm taking the Eagles over the Packers as well for the Monday night game. Hey, the bye week for this upcoming week, the Cincinnati Bengals, thank God they got a bye. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be on bye. The Tennessee Titans are going to be on a bye. And Mother Wigs Kansas City Chiefs are going to be on a bye next week. Okay. So, like I said, now the trivia question is coming up. Tom the Bomb says Will Smith is going to win the World Series next year. What do you think about that, Felix? Will Smith winning the World Series. Will Smith has won the World Series for the last 6 years in a row. Not the Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but the last 6 World Series teams has had a player on it named Will Smith. So I'm picking the Dodgers to three-peat, to win the World Series, and Will Smith will win the World Series for the 7th year in a row. The answer is Will Smith, not that same Will Smith, the player's name Will Smith. They're on a roll. Will Smith of the LA Dodgers has won the World Series 3 times in 2020, 2024, and 2025. So, like I said, so guess who's going to win the 2026 World Series next season? You got it. Will Smith is the answer to the trivia question. Hey, gang, we're introducing the new segment to the show. It's called Tom the Bomb Sportsman of the Week. And like I said, we're a sports talk show from a Christian point of view. And our theme has always been, do you want to win at all costs? Because sometimes you win, but you lose. And sometimes you lose, but you win. So, how we win and lose in life really, really matters. So, this week, Tom the Bomb Sportsman of the Week is actually coming from Dr. Lauren, and I'm in 100% agreement with the good doctor. The Sportsman of the Week is the Los Angeles Dodgers because they know how to win as a team. Uh, it doesn't hurt that they have a lot of believers. Not that other teams don't have believers, but the Dodgers have a lot of confessed leaders. What's the pitcher that came from the Nationals that's closing for the Dodgers, Felix? What's his name? Blake Trinan? Blake Trinan?
Trent, I know what you're talking about.
Trinan. He came from the Nationals. Yeah. I saw him on TV and he said, man, my goal is to get heaven filled up. I was like, hey, I like that. So we're going with the LA Dodgers as Sportsman of the Week. Congratulations to the Dodgers, the whole organization. They're a class act. They realize, you got people involved like Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson now has 18 championships in his life. 18. That's incredible. They understand and know what it takes to win. Uh, like the Orioles used to be, like the St. Louis Cardinals used to be, the Dodgers still have that great farm system, and they believe in building their own players. And they open up the bank, the checkbook, and they go out and they get the top players to keep refilling. So, like I said, I'm expecting them to go out and fill up their bullpen with top quality guys and get that bullpen to match that $1 billion starting rotation. And man, I'm looking at the Dodgers winning the World Series next year, man. I'm taking the Dodgers against the field. So that's our sportsman of the week. Troy picked the Steelers, the Bills. Oh, Lauren says, and Dave Roberts acknowledged the wives on the team. I guess that's so important coming from your wives. Yeah. So, hey, and family, wives and family, Dr. Lauren said that he was there to congratulate all the wives, because it is. Trust me when I tell you, it's, the two are one. The two become one. So I do understand it. Thank you, honey. Thank you for reminding me of that. Hey, gang, don't forget to like and subscribe us on YouTube and hit that like bell, please. If you're enjoying the content and you'd like to bless our ministries, you can sow into the Tom the Bomb Sports Talk by cash apping us at $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. That's $ Tom the Bomb Sports Talk. It'll also come up at the end. And don't forget to check out our website at www.tomthebombsports.com. That's www.tomthebombsports.com. You can also email us at info@tomthebombsports.com. Hey, gang, for a dynamic, in-depth sports analysis and highlights for sports in the DMV and more, check out the Washington Sports Den on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on WBGR with my main man, Mr. Felix Bassey. Future so bright, he got to wear shades. Man, time flies when you're having fun. We're out of time here, but we sure do thank you for spending your time with us. We don't take that for granted. Listen, may the gates of heaven open and pour out an abundance of blessings down on you that there won't be room enough to contain it as you live off the overflow and step boldly into the realm of grace. Remember, if you want it, you got to confess it with your mouth and believe it in your heart that Jesus died on the cross and that he rose on the third day, not necessarily a Thursday, just for you. Hey, gang, Tom Bob wants to leave you with a thought today. Duct tape may patch a lot of things, but 3 nails fixed everything. Remember, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Listen, may God bless you guys. We'll see you guys next week at this same time on this same channel, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and 3 p.m. Pacific. Listen, you guys have a good evening. Enjoy the games, the Monday night game. Felix, thanks a lot, pal. We love you.
All right. Night.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
Well, I'm coming out with a word in my mouth, filled with excitement to say what it's all about. For a long time, I've held this water in, let the floodgates open, let the miracles begin. I've prayed, and I've gone back 7 times, look again, cause the miracles are mine, stir the water. I'm about to step in like the pool of Bethesda, let the healing begin.
Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine. Daughter of mine, this is your time, and you gon' shine, and you gon' shine.
It took a minute to get my composure right. For years it seems like I've been fighting for my life. Confusing times when my days resemble nights. But now this eagle is about to take flight and soar out of darkness to his revelation light. Though the waves are rough, I step out my comfort zone to walk on water, cause I know I'm not alone. God's got my back and reminds me I'm his own. His words are sweet in my mouth, they taste like a honeycomb. And faith has opened up my eyes. I've been through the fire, tested and tried. As I study God's word, I finally realize that my purpose I have to visualize, to bring the unseen from the realm of under night until I walk into the fullness of a purpose-filled life. Cause I'm light. Yes, I am light, and I shine bright. I am an investment of the Lord Jesus Christ. Not only am I light, I am salt. When I enter in, I add flavor to it all. I bring truth, there's no dispute. Jesus is the vine, and in him I take root. I am the head, and not the tail. I'm an overcomer made free to prevail. A new design, a special kind. Ambassador followed by wonders and signs. I am light, and I give